Hey, it's Mark Williams from Swine Barbecue. Today we're doing a bone-in prime rib. Some people call it a standing rib roast. I don't care what you call it, it's a showstopper. This is great for big parties and get-together because it's always a good centerpiece and it always catches everybody's eye. We're gonna get it seasoned pretty heavy just because it's such a large cut of meat. And then we got the Outlaw Smokers Patio model out here on the back porch. We're gonna have it run about 300, 325. I'm looking for about an hour and a half to 2 hour cook. Once we get it done, we're gonna make a good garlic and herb, kind of a cream sauce, I guess you'd call it. Have a little bit of horseradish, a lot of flavor. We'll get it sliced up. I am pumped to eat this. Let's get started. So the first thing we wanna do today is get this prime rib trimmed. You're gonna take the time and take off anything around that spinalis and that loin. Expose as much of this meat as you can. That way you can get a good coat of rub on them and of course get the flavor in this big cut of meat. Once you get it trimmed, we're gonna take the time and address these French bones. Now the butcher done a great job, but it's always a little room for improvement. So in order to get a good finished product, we're gonna scrape off any kind of fat or meat we see that needs to be. We'll be ready to season after this. So to get this prime rib seasoned, we're gonna start off with equal parts soy sauce and Worcestershire sauce. We're gonna brush it on just a light coat. You want that good caramel color to start with just to help it throughout the cook process. Also, it's gonna let the rub stick. As far as rubs go, we're gonna run a little bit of the Mississippi grit, and our good buddies up there at Code 3, we have their grunt rub. If you have not tried this, you're missing out. So let's get it seasoned. We're just gonna take this mixture, use a good little basting brush, and you just wanna brush it on. Don't worry if it comes off the side or spills a little bit. It's just gonna add that good caramel color. We'll get the bones. Make sure to get the sides good. We'll get it flipped over. Same thing to this side. That looks pretty good. And we'll get our first layer seasoning, which is gonna be the Mississippi grit. We'll start off, try to get the side. With this large cut of meat, don't be scared to go heavy. I'm gonna try not to get any on the bones, just don't want the rub to burn on them. And then we'll come back with the Code 3 grunt rub. It's a lot coarser, it's gonna add a really good texture. Might just have to pat it in. And I'm not gonna worry about this area here. Being you got that fat and on the backside of them bones, it's gonna be hard to get rub to stick to it anyway. It's got a little bit, it'll add a little flavor, but you really wanna focus on all your meat that you can. Get it flipped back over. And we'll do the same thing to the top side. So we got this prime rib seasoned. We're gonna get out here and get this Outlaw Patio smoker fired up. We'll let it sit out for about an hour, start coming up to temp a little bit, and we'll be ready to put it on the pit. So today we're cooking on the Outlaw Smokers Patio model. In order to get the fire going, I take 3 tumbleweeds and place underneath the coals. Open the vents, leave the firebox door open as well as the cook chamber. This will help the fire get going a little bit quicker. Once you get a good bed of coals, I'm gonna take 2 little pieces of post oak and place on top of the coals. We'll let that catch. Once it catches, we'll time to close the doors, set the vents, and the cooker will be heating up. We'll be ready to cook in just a few minutes. So we got the pit up to temp. We're gonna try to run 300, 325. I'm gonna run it a little bit warmer just because I wanna get that crust on the outside of this prime rib. So let's get it put on. I'm gonna try to put it about midways of the grate. I'm gonna put the meat toward the fire. Let the bone go opposite. So with this stick burner, the heat's gonna come up and should hit that meat and roll right over it and go on out the exhaust. That's a good thing about these pits, man. They have excellent airflow. They cook really good. So we all know rosemary complements beef very well. I didn't tie any with butcher twine, so I'm gonna take a little bit here and just throw on the fire. It smells great. I'm hoping it'll pick up a little bit of that flavor on that prime rib. Like I say, it's not gonna take much. So we got the prime rib on. In about 30 minutes, I'll come out and check it, see what the color's looking like. Be a good time to put a meat probe in. We don't want to overcook this roast. I'm shooting for that 127, 128 range for a perfect medium rare. Once it carries over, it's gonna be great. I'll see y'all in a minute. So while we got the prime rib on the pit, I'm gonna make a little bit of a butter just to baste it with throughout the cook process. I'm gonna start off with a good quality butter. If you can't find this locally, this is Kerrygold. It's like an Irish butter, a little bit higher fat content. It's really good. So I'm just gonna get this in a pan. So then we'll take 8 cloves of garlic and mix in here with it, and just 1 sprig of rosemary. Don't get much simpler than that. We'll get it out there on the pit, slide it over there by the firebox, get that all melted. In about an hour, we'll baste it. So it's been about 30 minutes. Let's see what kind of color we got. So it's looking good. It's starting to get a little color on it. I'm gonna slip this probe in here. So what I'm gonna do is just go in the center of the meat and then go dead center just like that. We'll let it go a few more minutes. We'll come back out here in probably another 30 and get this butter basted on top of it and really start setting that crust. So as you can tell, Mother Nature decided to tell us we need to cook under the porch tonight. We're gonna take a little bit, add a little stick of wood to it. Like I said earlier, it don't take much of a fire to run this pit. So we keep this kindling splits pretty small. You're not using whole splits. We'll leave the door open just for a second so that'll catch. Like I say, it just takes a few seconds. That post oak will catch and burn just as clean as you can be. So we're at the 1 hour mark. We're gonna take time to check it out, see what it looks like. You can tell the outside's gonna start darkening up, drying out a little bit. So we're gonna take this butter and give it a good baste. Butter's starting to brown a little bit in that pan. The garlic's done roasted itself, so it ought to have a really good flavor. And get them bones, and she ought to be good. We'll come back and check it here in about 30 minutes. So now's a good time to see what kind of color you have on the bones. These got plenty of color, so I'm gonna go ahead and wrap them up. If yours look good, keep on cooking. All right, so we're about an hour and a half, hour 45 minutes into the cook. We're gonna give it another look. Like I say, our butter's done browned up real good and it smells awesome. The garlic's roasted. This prime rib has an awesome color to it. I wish y'all could see it. I know it's a little dark out here. Mother Nature decided to throw a little rainstorm on us, but it ain't gonna stop us from cooking. This will probably be the last base before it's done. I'm gonna go ahead and get this butter out of the way. We'll get it closed up. And we're sitting at about 86 degrees, so it's a little bit slower cooked than I expected, but that's okay. We ain't worried about time. We're cooking to doneness. This Outlaw smoker's been running smooth as it can be. And we'll check it again here in a minute. All right, it's been about 2.5 hours total cook time. As you can see, she's hit 125. We're gonna call it done. Let's see what she looks like. Get the probe out of the way. Man, that thing's got awesome color. We're gonna get it off, get in here and get it put on the cutting board. Let it rest for a minute. I say give it at least a good 20-minute rest. This big a cut of meat, it's gonna carry over a good bit. She's gonna be looking good here in just a few minutes. For the sauce, we're gonna start off with 6 ounces of a garlic and herb cheese spread. You can use Boursin cheese or whatever you have available. You're gonna wanna cut it with 1 cup of heavy whipping cream. Get that in a small saucepan on low to medium heat until this cheese spread dissolves. Once you get it mixed in good, you're gonna add 2 heaping tablespoons of horseradish. If you like a little bit more kick, don't hesitate to add that third because it's really good. You're gonna do the same thing and get this combined. Once you get that all mixed up, add salt and pepper to taste. I used about a tablespoon of each and it was just about perfect. So this prime rib's been resting for about 20 minutes. We took that time to make our sauce. It's killing us. It smells so good in the house right now. Just a quick recap. We took a whole bone-in prime rib, trimmed it down, got a lot of that fat off. We seasoned it with a little bit of grit and of course the grunt rub. It done an awesome crust on this prime rib. Let me just tell you, I'm super pumped to try this. So first off, I'm gonna get it laid down. I'm gonna make it a little easier on us. I'm gonna turn it up on its side and we're actually just gonna take these bones off. You'll get right up against the bones with your knife and just follow the line. Use the bones as your guide. We'll set these off to the side. That's my treat later. It looks like we got a really good cook on them. Of course, you know your end pieces, they're gonna be a little bit more than medium. You know, we're shooting for a medium rare right in the center. That gives you a chance, a lot of your guests, to sample it. You know, some of your guests may not want that medium rare, and this will give them a choice. You know, you have that end piece to be a little bit more done. So we'll take the first cut off of it. And that's almost a perfect medium right there. And it is packed full of juice. Got a good little smoke ring. So I'm gonna have to have me a piece right there out of that middle. I'll pull that spinalis off. Cut a little up. So I'm gonna try it first just by itself. Get a little bit of that jus that run out on this cutting board. That right there is as good a beef as any you could ever have. So we're gonna try our sauce. I use this cast iron pot. It keeps that sauce warm. You wanna keep that sauce as warm as you can, of course. Don't tell nobody I'm dipping. I didn't think the first bite could get any better. That right there is, I believe I'm done cooking beef. That is hands down some of the best I've ever cooked. So that's a wrap for us today at Swine Life. Y'all have got to try this recipe. This is hands down one of the best cuts of beef I've ever tried. If y'all got any questions, shoot us a message on Facebook or Instagram. And as always, make sure to like and subscribe to our channel. We'll see y'all next time.